Welcome to this week's episode of the Six Figure Success Club. Today we are going to be joined by Ann-Marie, who is a multiple six-figure business owner. So she's built 4 six-figure businesses in her tenure as an entrepreneur. And she today is going to be sharing with us some of her top tips for creating the right mindset to build a six-figure business. Let's get into it. Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ann-Marie Christell. I am situated in Stockholm, Sweden at this very moment. But I travel the world. I've lived in many different places, and I'm a multiple passionate entrepreneur, I guess. I've had several six-figure businesses, reached several 6 figures in many different types of businesses. And at this moment, I coach hairstylists in marketing strategies without leading to burnout. So that's a little bit about me, but we can get into more details later on.
Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm really interested in talking to you about the fact that you've built multiple six-figure businesses. So obviously the business here is called the Six Figure Success Club. We are passionate about helping women build six-figure businesses. So you've obviously cracked the code of how to do that. So I'd love you to just kind of talk through if there is a code. Is there something that you've kind of found that is the reason that you have been able to build so many successful businesses?
Well, the funny thing is, when I did it the first 2 times, I didn't even know what a six-figure business was. I didn't even I wasn't aware of what people say, talk about what it is, because I wasn't in these kind of rooms where people were talking about it. And I didn't have that many entrepreneurship friends at that very moment. But one thing that I think is one of the things that people talk about the least is believing that you're worthy of success. Because there are so many entrepreneurs are out there, and people that are trying to start their businesses and so on, that actually stops doing things because of themselves. They're putting
like blockers in their own way.
Yeah, and putting things in their mind, or listening to what other people are saying and thinking. And one of the things I know to be true, and I've had this happen to me over and over again, is the people that are families, friends, coworkers, clients, because for me, it's like I've had my hairstyling business for 26 years, and that's the thing that has been going consistently. And then I had side businesses. I've had business where an e-commerce store that was selling things. And now I'm doing online coaching and online courses and so on. And it is interesting because when you as a person change, because running a six-figure business takes something from you. Like it needs something. You need to be a person that is this running the whole thing and also delegating to other people if you want to build your business in that way. And it is interesting because my hair clients that see me on a regular basis in the salon, when they start to hear that I'm doing something different, they try to hold me. And when I start to speak about things in a different way, they try to hold me in a space where you're not allowed to change. Or we can look at the reactions of family members when you start to show up on social media, speaking about your products or services or whatever it is that you offer. And all of a sudden, you're in a family get together, and your cousin or your mother or your brother is being triggered by the things that you are saying online, because you're not the person online that they've seen growing up, because they haven't seen you in the role as a business owner and expert in your field. And I think it's so important that we actually remember that who it is that we are speaking to. It doesn't matter if you're selling products or if you are selling services or something in that matter, but who is actually the person that needs to hear this message. And if you have family members or friends or other clients that are being triggered by the new thing that you are doing, why not block them on social? If you know that something is going to trigger you, and my mother, she keeps on sending me text messages like, you have angry eyebrows, because she doesn't like how I paint my eyebrows somehow. And that's the only, she can't say that I'm, oh, that was nice, or you're really good at doing what you're doing online. No, she comments on my eyebrows, or if I look tired, or because she wants to push me down, because she becomes uncomfortable as I grow. And I have had to learn not to be triggered by what other people believe about me, and focus mainly on who am I here to serve and how am I here to help them, and block off every judgment from any, because there will be judgment, and there will be hate, sadly, because that's the environment. If you are using the internet to promote yourself nowadays, that's the new normal. I don't like it, but it's just a fact.
It comes back to, I think, the focusing on the things that you can control. So you can't control anyone else's reaction to anything that you're doing, but you can control your reaction to their reaction. And that's the bit I think that it's really important for us to focus on as business owners that are doing things that other people wouldn't dream of doing. They are going to have different reactions to you because it's not their passion. It's not something that they care about, which is fine. But it's up to us to change how we feel about their reaction, which it takes practice, but you absolutely can learn to do it. And over time, that then means that you're more resilient to their reaction, and it doesn't trigger you, like you say, as much as it did to begin with, because you've learned to focus on the way that you feel and what you're doing in response to that.
And I just shake it off. And if someone here is being triggered by something someone says, learn a technique to actually move all of your feelings out of your body. And something that I do is I go out on walks. I listen to really high tempo music, and I try to like really move those yucky feelings out of my body and just release it. So if anyone sees me walking really angry, then you know what I'm doing, because we cannot hold that. And another thing is also to remind yourself that your message and what it is that you do is not for everyone. And if you have hate being thrown towards you, I've woken up to like over 1,000 hate comments, and just scrolling on YouTube or on Instagram, going like, okay, and people are writing so much shit and crap because you have triggered someone, or that was my case anyway. And understanding that you become an outlet for them releasing anger. They are carrying, but it's nothing about you as a person. And it is interesting because when people have written really rude things, and if they do it privately towards me, I actually invite them to coffee. And then that ends because they don't want to have a face-to-face conversation with you. They just want to on
They
you.
want to vent. I
Yeah.
like what you said about you become an outlet for their anger. I think that's a really strong way of looking at it. So it's nothing to do with you personally or what you're doing, and it's everything to do with them and how they're feeling. I think that's a really important way of looking at it.
Yeah. And I think if we look at like media in general, what is being promoted and what is being out there is negative things. And I think that will just grow and grow and grow.
Mm.
And it's going to become something more. So the more as you as a business owner actually can take a step back and give yourself love, because we're not the amount of money that we're earning, or we're not amount of how many subscribers we have or how many followers we have or how many likes. That has nothing to do with me. The more we can distance ourselves from that and remind ourselves that we're perfect as we are, and do that every single day, because there will be like ups and downs in business, and if you freak out every time that you have make less money, or people are unfollowing you, or people are writing mean things and so on, then your mood will flow with that. And then you if you are just building yourself up because of the numbers, then you want to put the blanket over your head every morning, and you won't get up and do the things when it feels hard. So
Yeah, which I think is why doing kind of the inner work, so that it's only your opinion that matters. So whether you get positive or negative feedback from like the outside world, none of that should affect you. We don't want to be taking positive validation from
yeah,
people because that's something outside of your control. And if that ever goes away, it's going to have a negative impact. And on the same vein, if you're taking negativity from the outside world, that's going to make you feel rubbish. But if
yeah,
everything that you're focused on is from inside you, then you are in control of
yeah,
how that affects you and how you feel and those sorts of things.
yeah. Yeah, so I think it's having moments every day to remind yourself that you are perfect as you are, and actually also learn how to calm ourselves down whenever we feel unbalanced, and
Mm,
also checking in, what is it that I actually need today, uh, before we actually dig in and do the work that we're here to do.
for sure. And taking when something does happen and you have that kind of maybe negative energy and you need to do something specifically to clear that out. So you said you go for a walk
Yeah,
and listen to energetic music, and the act of actually doing some whatever it is, it might be that you stand outside for 5 minutes, or you go for a walk, or you listen to music, but
yeah,
actually do something to get rid of it. Because if you just kind of plow through and hope that it's going to go away, it's not, and it's going to
no,
affect everything else that happens
yeah,
throughout the day. So take 5 minutes, do the thing that's going to make you kind of let go of that negative experience and move forward.
yeah,
And there's a great analogy, which is, I forget how many seconds there are in a day, but it's something to do with, if you've had a bad 10 seconds, why would you let it ruin essentially the rest of the day? And it's that sort of thing, is what can you do right now to release this negative
yeah,
experience and move forward? So I
yeah,
had a similar thing happen yesterday. So I've got some health challenges. I've got private healthcare that I was having an argument over the phone with yesterday, and it got me really upset because having to talk about all of my problems is really tough. And I
yeah,
was messaging my friend about the fact that they were making me fill in some forms. It was really challenging. And a few minutes later, I messaged my friend back and was like, okay, I've put my positive pants back on now because I've remembered that I'm really lucky to have private healthcare. And if I didn't have private healthcare, I'd be in a lot worse position. And yes, they want me to fill in some new forms, but it's not the end of the world. And it was, yeah, taking kind of a step back away from the emotional response of having to deal with my health conditions, because it's not fun,
yeah,
and remembering that I'm dealing with a private health company, which not everybody has access to. And I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just that kind of flip of that attitude and giving myself the space to come to that realization made a huge difference. And when I spoke to them again this morning, it was a much more positive experience than it had been yesterday.
Yeah, and I think anytime we also are triggered by something, before we release it, is actually just to think about the situation, and sometimes maybe like take ourselves out of the equation and actually look from outside and in and see what can I actually learn from this situation, and how, if this situation happens again, how can I approach it from another perspective? Because then you're actually taking the lesson with you and releasing the negativity, and move on. So maybe next time you are in a situation you have to fill out the form, well, it's just a form, but I get help. Like,
Exactly.
and I think that is something that us mindset junkies and personal development junkies are like, is it's easy. Sometimes it's actually easier to point out everything for our friends or coworkers and so on, but we also have to remind ourselves to, okay, where am I in this situation? So if you are like, if anyone has a tough time, sometimes it's just writing out and checking in. Where am I today? What is it that's feeling tough? How can I make it easier for myself? And actually just check in and writing things down. And sometimes when we write things down, it just feels so stupid. It's released in the same moment, and then we can move on.
Yeah. Yeah, the power of journaling, I am a big fan of, because I find when you write when you write your feelings down or whatever it is that's bothering you, having the act of putting it onto paper makes it more tangible.
Yeah.
So it's something you can almost touch and feel, as opposed to just being a feeling, and it makes it a lot easier to deal with. And like you say, sometimes when you write it down, you realize it's not that big a problem and you can let it go immediately. But if it is a bigger problem, it's easier to deal with when it's written down, because you can kind of see it and feel it and touch it and work through it more easily.
Yeah. No, it's really, really interesting. And another thing that I think is important, when you were asking me before, like, is there a formula? And I think it's, if you think of a person that actually has a six-figure business, or you think of you as the version that has already done all of this, and actually stepping into the shoes of that person already now. When I started out in my business, I didn't even realize that I was doing it, because I was taking so many leaps. And I traveled from Sweden to Los Angeles, to New York, to Toronto, to London, to learn a lot of skill sets that wasn't available in Sweden at that very time. And many people around me were like, but are you going to go on a plane? You don't know anyone. I was 19 at the time, traveling half the world. I could speak English because I had already lived 1 year in America, so I could speak fluently. But like my mom said, well, if it doesn't work out, you can always come home. I'll send you money for an airplane ticket. At that time, she was more pushing us out than she's actually now. But so that I'm grateful for. So I was taking these leaps of bounds, and there was not even a single idea in my head that I would fail. For me, I knew that if I do this, and if I keep on doing the work, if I keep on showing that I actually exist, then people will come to me. So I actually had my first website made back in like 2000. and that was in the early days of the internet. If you
Mhm.
are, yeah, if there are young people listening to this, then the internet was non-existent, and I had a boyfriend at the time that actually was working with websites, so he built me one. And then you understand the power of SEO, search engine optimization, because within a year from not having a business, I was fully booked. And I was fully booked 3-4 months out. And I had people traveling from all over Europe to come and get their hair done by me. And I was traveling to America and to do people's hairs as well, because uh, of that little website that in the
Amazing.
beginning was nothing. And I think that is so important today. I know everyone is talking about how social media is so important, but I think we actually forget that we do not own the rights to our followers on social media. We don't own, like, any time your account can become suspended. And what do you do then? You
Mhm.
need to have some space on the internet that you own, that you can control. And if you are a person that actually needs validation, uh, figure out a way to actually understand, to see how many people are visiting your website. Because I
Mhm.
think that's one of the things that people think it's boring, because they don't understand how many people actually are visiting your website. Um, and I was actually uh, surprised the other day, because I was walking in, going into Google search engine site, and I was surprised that the other day over 10,000 people were in my website, and I didn't know. I wasn't the I hadn't checked it for a while, so
Amazing.
me myself was surprised by that.
Mm.
So I just have this as a reminder to other people as well. So now I actually made that one of those posts that I check every week, and I actually track and write down in a Google Doc how many people have actually visited my website, because that is something that I
Yeah, I
keep
love that.
doing as well.
And so getting fully booked in that first year with your website, would you credit that success with your belief in yourself and the fact that you would become fully booked?
It's a mixture of, I started taking pictures from day one of the work that I was doing. And I actually had a digital camera at that time. And again, you that are younger, that was a,
Unusual, yeah.
yeah, very, very unusual.
Before the iPhone.
It's because I love taking photos, and I've been doing it for ages. And I kept on adding these photos to the website because I knew the value of the work that I was doing, and also seeing the transformations that I was doing for my clients, because I've been working with a lot of hair extensions and so on. And that gives so much confidence in people. If someone doesn't like their hair, I knew that this can really help them. It can really transform them from the inside and out. And I knew that that was something that I wanted to get out there.
Mm.
And it was also something that I wanted to help people. It wasn't about the numbers for me, it was more about how how I could help people. I
Mm-hmm.
was just happy that I could pay the bills, because I was in my 20s, and I just wanted to, earn money, be able to travel, be able to go out partying, and be able to help people. That
Yeah.
was my focus. But when I look back at it, uh, it wasn't even an option to fail.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an option to move back to my mom's house, or I just kept on showing up and doing things.
I think that's really important. The belief in not failing, that's absolutely key. And I was speaking to someone this morning about especially when you're starting in a business and you're not yet seeing the results that you want to, focusing on something other than the sales is the key to success, essentially. Because if you're just focusing on the sales and you're not getting the sales, it's going to be really disheartening. But if you're doing all the activity, the right activity that we all know we need to be doing in our business that should lead to sales, focusing on just getting the activity done should be the key, and focusing less on the end result. So are you serving the audience that you've built? Are you engaging with them? Are you creating conversations? And focusing instead on tracking that you're doing that activity instead of the output in the beginning means that you're building a sense of motivation and accomplishment while you're waiting for kind of those sales to come in. And it's such a little mindset shift, but it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think going like what I want to add to that is to remind you of that, how long it actually takes for someone to trust you. Because it takes a while to create a relationship with a follower or someone that actually sees your content for the first time. And then it can take 2 months, a year, 10 years until they are actually emotional ready to buy from you. And also what I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing that is wrong, when they are trying to sell something, they're trying to make it so unique and using so many fancy words that people are not even understanding what it is that you're actually about. And it's the more you can dumb down, and so that people actually understand what it is that you're selling, what it is that you're about, and so that they actually understand that, and start to have an ongoing relationship with people. And until this day, I see people saying like, hey, I started following you on social media like 10 or 15 years ago. Wow. And now I'm ready. And that for me still is mind-blowing, that it actually can take so long before someone is in the right space to actually get into this space. And it's also a skill set to actually sell without being salesy, to create a demand for your products, to create a willingness to get someone to buy from you. And I think that's something that just because you have put out an email or a new thing on your website and it doesn't sell for the first time, it's going to take tweaking and shifting and tweaking, and it's all about you not giving up. Because if you believe in your product and you embody your product and you really, really know everything about it, and you talk about it over and over and over again until you're sick of it, it's when you're sick of it that the sales are going to start to come in. Because then you have actually learned to talk about it in a way that people actually understand what it is that you're about. And I think a lot of people give up after the first time, after their first webinar, or after their first idea. And I can say people were asking me for over 10 years to actually teach them my skills of doing hair. And I kept on saying no, because I'm a super introverted person. I'm really scared of people. I don't like to be in front of large groups. And for the longest time, I was super afraid of actually showing up on camera. because I had some trauma from growing up around being on camera, being on photos, and so on. So I kept on saying, no, 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 it's not going to happen. And I believe that the universe is guiding me through life. And it actually ended up me becoming so sick that I was paralyzed for a week until I actually said, no, yes, I'm going to start to teach this, because I realized that if I cannot use my hands anymore, then the skills that I had gathered for over 20 years will be lost. And that would be so selfish of me to keep holding on to that. So I actually said yes. But it made me, like, they put me into a paralyzed mode in order for me to actually take that leap, because I was so afraid myself. But that also made me understand that I had to, it's not about me. It's about the people that I'm helping, and also understanding the ripple effect that I can actually cause with helping other people. And that is also connected to not building your self-esteem up with social media or the amount of money that you're making and so on. So
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about business owners is that the majority of people have started a business because they are passionate about something and want to share that thing with other people. And it's a really wonderful thing, but I think sometimes we get bogged down in some of the like the whether you're performing well or whether you should be doing this or someone else's version of success.
yeah,
We kind of lose that little flame, that thing that you were passionate about that made you want to do this in the first place. Hold on to that, because that is the key to making it successful, is sharing that thing that you're passionate about with other people.
yeah.
And so when you've built a number of six-figure businesses now, is that because, I think you said at the beginning, you're multi-passionate, you find different things that you're passionate about and then you want to share those with the world? Do you agree that it's the passion for that particular thing that makes you successful?
I think it's a mix of having the passion, being able to package the whatever it is that you're selling in a way that so people actually want to have it, and then understanding your audience and understanding in what way people will buy something when they see that your product actually solving a problem for them. So how can you actually package this, if it is a service or a product or a course? What problem is that actually solving for your clients? Because it's not until they understand that you have the solution that easy transaction is being made. And that is harder to do when we are selling things online, rather than if you have a boutique and sell something, then it's actually easier to make the sale than through the screen. So I think it's a mixture of those, and keep on going and taking tiny actions and tweaking things and not giving up. Because sometimes it feels like we're speaking into a void, but you have no idea how big of an impact you might have on people. And it is interesting because when the pandemic hit, and the world closed down, and me and my husband, we have friends all over the world, we were chatting and talking to people on video and so on, and we realized like we wanted to do something. So we started to do a mini live stream series, just talking about mindset, talking about different things, and we were interviewing people and entrepreneurs from all over the world. And we kept on doing this for 6 months. And we did this because we enjoyed it so much. We didn't want to have, there was no end game or any, like, we just wanted to show up and share some love. And it's interesting because at that time there were not that many people watching it, or there were not that many people commenting and so on. But it didn't, that was not, we just wanted to share something beautiful. And afterwards, we've had people come up to us saying, like, watching that video series actually helped me get over the grief of my son, one guy said. Or someone actually said that that was the light when I couldn't get out of the room. Uh, and I think that is such a beautiful reminder that you have no idea what your content, how big of an impact that actually could have for you. Because there is, and nowadays people are consuming content, but they are not interacting as much. You never know how many people are actually seeing what it is that you're doing, and when that from someone being a follower to a customer actually happens, and when they are actually ready to buy something from you.
Yeah, I think people forget when, obviously, like the way that we interact with social media, we are silent scrollers. We'll sit and flip through and not comment or interact with the posts in any way. And it's the same thing with the followers for your business. And I think that is something that people forget, that the people that are watching your stuff don't necessarily interact with it. That doesn't mean that they're not watching.
No.
And yeah, like you said earlier, the vanity of likes and follows isn't what's going to make your business successful. It's whether your content is resonating with your ideal client. So understanding their pain points and making sure that that message is conveyed in your content is what's important.
And I think we need to hold on to that. And I think usually also, if you are just starting out as an entrepreneur, remember that the people that you should, if you come across a problem, the people that you should actually talk to is some other entrepreneur that actually has done the thing that you want to do. Because many people will ask their closest friend or a family member or someone that has no understanding of what it actually is that you're trying to do. And then you probably will get the wrong response from them. And I don't want that for you. And I don't want you to give up because it feels like there is a void, or you don't feel that you are pretty enough, or you are not, you don't know how to speak about this. Or for me, for the longest time, I didn't think that my English was good enough because English is my second language. So will people actually understand what it is that I'm saying? You know, all of this, we create all of these ideas in our heads, and there are the perfect customers for you out there that actually wants you with your quirkiness. And I think we need to also put our own quirkiness into the mixture of the things that we are actually selling, and dare to mess up. So if you are doing a webinar and your slide deck is not working, don't turn it off. Just talk about what it is that you're doing and show up. And it's in these tiny things that people actually will see that, yeah, that's a real person. And they want that rawness and realness.
Absolutely. So I often talk about mindset as if it's a muscle, because it's something that you have to exercise and you have to work on it constantly. So you've obviously built a very strong mindset, and I'd love to know if there are things that you do every day, exercises, or what is it that you do every day that helps you build that muscle?
So what I do is I meditate I do breathwork practices. I do visualization. I don't do the same thing every single day because I have a scattered brain, and I think that's why I have created different things as well, because I get bored super easily. So for me, being consistent and talking about one thing is very hard, but I know there's value in that.
Yeah.
And I also journal, and I plan out things and block off time, because and what I do nowadays as well is I actually turn off all distractions. So if I am doing recording a podcast, or I'm writing notes for my podcast, then I turn my phone on silent. No one can call me. I turn off all the tabs, so I'm working on one thing. Sometimes I have to write things on paper, like I do like that, and I actually sit outside with no phone, no digital distraction, because I know that there is a million things pulling me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain is so scattered that I know that, oh, I can just Google this, and then half an hour goes away. I actually turn off everything that could be a distraction for me, just to keep focus.
Yeah.
And you won't build a successful business overnight. It just takes one step at a time. And sometimes we think, oh, I'm not getting there fast enough, or I'm not doing this, or blah 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 blah. But it's just, if you have a big project that you're working on, how can you turn that into tiny tasks? And you know that when you see you have done one task, just put a line over it. Okay, I'm finished. What is the next one? Then I'm finished. And all of a sudden, you have a product, or you have an email sequence, or you have 20 podcast episodes, or whatever it is that you're doing. And seeing the small wins in the things that you are doing.
Mm.
And one thing that I have started doing, like the past year, is actually, so I have an office that I go to and work, and after 9 o'clock in the evening, I actually turn my phone off. Yeah.
Wow.
And that is because I need time to be with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe watch TV in the evening, or I do things, but I don't want things to be pulling me and taking my attention from actually having some time for myself. And just be me, just be Ann-Marie. I don't need to respond to messages and so on. And something that also have been a huge thing for me is actually turn off every single notifications on everything, because that is also pulling my attention. So people know that I'm not dissing them because I'm not responding to things straight away. But that's just a way of keeping my sanity and not burning out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because if you have a lot of followers and you start to get a lot of DMs, or you're starting to get a lot of emails, or maybe you are available on phone calls, and like for me, I have built a clientele that I sell stuff to from all over the world, and people are joining in, and from all time zones. They're like, I have to keep strict rules for myself to not work 24/7, because it's in those moments of maybe doing the dishes, or taking a walk outside, or when I'm angry walking, or just being with my family, that I run and I write down on pen and paper my new ideas. Those moments that things come up, Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I have to write an email about. Oh, and so on. So not being distracted all the time,
Mm-hmm.
finding moments of silence actually uh, clear space for you to
Mm.
come up with the next thing that's going to be the next thing for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely do similar things to train our mindsets. So I
Yeah,
also journal and visualize. And one thing that I thought of just then as you were talking was being conscious of everything that you're taking in. So whether it's the TV programs that you're watching or the music that you're listening to,
yeah, yeah,
if they're
yeah.
not uplifting, that's gonna affect your mindset and your peace of mind. So make sure that you are listening to uplifting music
Yeah,
and that the programs that you're watching aren't things that are going to bring you down and
yeah,
that lift you up. And reading business books and reading books by other entrepreneurs who've been really successful so you can get
yeah,
inspiration from them. And yeah, just generally being conscious of everything that you're taking in because it
yeah,
all affects you positively or negatively.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so nice talking to you. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us on building six-figure businesses.
It's been super fun and exciting to share all of this with you guys. So I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. My three key takeaways from today are a reminder that your mindset is a muscle and it needs to be worked on constantly. And the second one would be that your mindset is the key to your success. If you don't have the right mindset, the business isn't going to be successful because every little setback is going to get you down, it's going to demotivate you and stop you doing the thing that you're super passionate about and building the business that you want to. So adopt some practices that will help you work on your mindset every day. So whether it is listening to uplifting music or journaling or going for a walk after something not quite positive happens, whatever it is, do something that strengthens your mindset so that you become more resilient and can motivate yourself to do the work even when things aren't going exactly as planned, as will happen in every business that you're building. And the third key takeaway from today would be to adapt your measure of success. So whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that whatever you're measuring yourself against is reflective of where you are in your journey. So if you're at the beginning of your business journey and you're not yet getting the sales that you want, maybe it's not the sales that you should be tracking. Maybe it's the activity that you are doing that should be tracked. So you're posting, you're making all the conversations, you're getting in front of your ideal client. That's probably the activity that you should be tracking at this point, and the sales will come later. But don't compare yourself to somebody who is much further ahead in their journey and might have been doing this for years and is currently having more clients than you. Make sure that you're comparing yourself comparatively to where you are in your journey. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.